Okay, another day, another video. Let's go. Most conversations around EVs start at the wrong place. How fast does it go? How far does it go? How big the battery pack is? I mean, in the sense, how big the capacity of the battery pack is? How many screens? How good does it look from the inside? And trust me, none of that is useless information, but it explains why most EV debates sort of go nowhere and they get stuck and they feel repetitive, because EVs aren't just cars or scooters or sports bikes anymore in 2026. They are systems, and systems don't succeed when just one part of it is impressive. Systems succeed when the whole ecosystem stops demanding attention. And that's what this video is going to talk about. Not whether EVs are good or bad, but why they feel effortless for some people and why they mentally bother others. Think about our general daily cars that we use. I'm not talking about the sports cars or the niche segment of cars that are there. These normal day-to-day cars that we use, they're not exciting anymore. Nobody gets emotional about fuel stations. You don't think about fuel. You don't plan your day around it. You don't check an app to see if it's available. You don't check if the pump is compatible with your car. You just drive. Petrol cars didn't necessarily dominate because engines were fun. They dominated because the systems around it, which were built, were pretty much invisible. Fuel stations became standardized, refueling time became predictable, payments worked everywhere. Eventually, refueling a car became more of background noise and not a task anymore. But EVs don't really have that invisibility yet. And until they do, adoption of these EVs will still feel slower, no matter how good the electric vehicles become better themselves. People still talk a lot about range anxiety, but honestly, it's more of a legacy issue now, because most EVs these days, at least electric cars, can comfortably do around 300 to 500 kilometers on a single charge, and some long range models will go beyond that, but that's mostly at a higher price range. Now compare that to how people actually drive. In most countries, the average daily distance driving is around 30 to 50 kilometers, and even on a busy day, it rarely crosses above 100 kilometers. Purely from a distance perspective, EVs are already good enough for daily usage. That's why range anxiety has quietly shifted into something else. It's not about how far you can go anymore, it's about how quickly you can add the energy back. With fuel, adding energy is convenient and predictable. You pull in, fill up, leave, 5 minutes, same routine almost everywhere. With EVs, adding energy is a bit slower, variable, and even uncertain. And uncertainty is where stress enters the picture. You start asking questions that you never had to ask before. Like, will the charger be free? Will it charge my car at full speed? Will it work today? Do I need a different app to run this specific charger? None of these are difficult questions, but they do occupy mental space. And we humans don't mind inconvenience as much as we mind uncertainty. And I think that distinction matters a lot. You see, owning an EV doesn't change how you drive, but it changes how you think. You become aware of the battery percentage of your car the same way as you become aware of the battery percentage on your phone. You start planning routes differently. You slightly have to adjust sometimes. Again, none of this is difficult, but it does add to the cognitive load. And cognitive load is invisible until it builds up. And most people don't want their daily commute to feel like energy management. They just want the transportation to be running in the background. Somewhere that's why EV experiences are so polarized. Because if you have a charger at home, it's magical. You come home, plug it in, forget about it, wake up the next morning with what feels like a full tank. Charging happens when you sleep. Costs are low and predictable. In many regions, charging at home costs the owners 3 to 4 times lesser than charging at a public space, and that difference is massive. If you see it like that, EVs feel viable. They feel clearly superior to petrol cars. But remove home charging, the experience flips completely. Sure, public charging is faster, but it's more expensive. In many places, public fast charging costs 2 to 3 times more per unit than home electricity. And in some cases, when prices spike, it approaches the per kilometer cost of petrol itself. And at that point, one of the biggest EV selling points, which is low running cost, seems to quietly disappear. Same car, same battery, same technology, but completely different experiences. That alone should tell us something important, that EVs aren't universally good or bad. This is a context dependent technology, and context dependent technology always takes time to go mainstream, because adoption isn't about just convincing people with numbers and statistics. It's about actually building a system that works in the background so well that people don't have to have second thoughts about even thinking about considering to buy an electric vehicle. If a technology works brilliantly for homeowners with private parking spaces, but works poorly for renters and apartment dwellers, then it seems like less of the future and it feels more selective. There's another aspect that rarely gets discussed, which is fast charging won't magically solve all the EV problems. Reducing fast charging time to 10 minutes or 5 minutes, sure, sounds good on paper. Maybe will work really good in real life too. But what about the reliability? Battery packs deteriorate at a faster rate if you fast charge them. And I have made multiple videos on the disadvantages of fast charging, which are on the channel. You can go and check it out. But this gets rarely discussed, and reliability beats performance all the time, consistently. This is where software becomes more important than batteries, because improving battery technology at a faster pace is expensive and is very hard to achieve. But software can reduce friction immediately. Software decides whether charges are easy to find, whether availability data is accurate, whether prices are transparent, whether the payments are seamless, whether routes feel calm or stressful. The EV that truly wins won't be the one with the biggest battery or the fastest charging curve. It will be the one that makes charging boring. When people stop talking about charging altogether, that's when EVs go mainstream. Policy also plays a bigger role than people like to admit. Subsidies, tax benefits, fuel pricing, congestion charges, all these things don't just grow EV market, they also actively shape behavior. Whenever incentives are introduced, the adoption goes up. If incentives are reduced, it drops. That doesn't mean EVs are fake or failing. It simply means the system isn't sustaining itself yet. A technology truly wins when it makes sense without incentives. And that's the real test. So, where does that leave us? With a more honest picture. See, EVs aren't a revolution yet. I don't think they should be. Also, they are a transition. They work beautifully in a few contexts, but they work poorly in a few contexts. Pretending otherwise will only cause frustration, backlash, and unrealistic expectations. Future of EVs isn't just about selling better cars. It is about removing friction so that people don't even notice the technology anymore. If EVs become boring, predictable, and mentally less stressful, then it'll become normal. And when they become normal, adoption won't require debates. It'll just happen. So the real question to ask here is, when will the system finally catch up with the technology? Let me know in the comments. And with that, this is Pawan signing off.